Hello everyone, welcome back to another deck profile. This time it's on Katana World Water deck. And I know that the buddy is not water, but I have a couple reasons for why I chose him. Well, first off, I guess we might as well say who it is. It's first Omni Beast Messenger Goishigoma. He's a 2/1/2, size 0. And if a size 2 or greater Katana World monster would be called from your hand, its call cost is reduced by 1 gauge. So I chose him for a couple reasons. First off, he's a size 0 that works perfectly well with the deck, even though he's not water. Second off, it reduces the call cost of any non-essays or cannons that you might play on the field from hand. The other reason is just a little bit of a mental strategy of just if you play him as buddy, people may not expect a water deck when you first play against it. They may think like Skull Warriors or size 3 skulls or size 1s with Kagan Ryu, maybe to use this to reduce the call cost of Kagan Ryu. But he fits perfectly in the deck, and he just plays that little bit of a mind game, and you can always play him literally. So I mean, if you need that 1 life for any certain reason, that's why you need him. So I've noticed water does sometimes have gauge issues, well, at least based on how I play it. So that's why I have him as well, just to reduce gauge costs. So might as well go with him as a 4 of in the deck. Same thing. Not much to go over, as I just said. So we'll just move on. Next for size 0s is Premature Passing, Bibi Kawazu. He's a size 0 as well. 2/1/1. When he enters the field from your hand, you can put 2 Skull Warriors or Waters from your deck into your drop zone and shuffle your deck, so he's a good searcher. And if he's attacking alone, it can't be nullified. I use this mainly to at least set up the drop for having some water cards in the drop for non-SA, or put some spells in the drop for the Omni Lords, just spell waters. Oh, water monsters. Haha, so never mind. I can't actually grab spells. Well, that's okay. Not a big deal. But usually you just use them to set up a non-SA. I just realized that. So, the attack alone can't be nullified is, I guess, nice, but doesn't really come into play too much. But, I mean, he's just a size 0 that you need just to get ready for everything else. Next, I run 4 of the White Dragon Hermit non-SA. That's the original. It's a 5/2/5, size 2. Its call cost is pay 1 gauge and put up to 2 water from your drop into its soul. So you could put literally nothing in there if you want to. Not that I advise it, but if you're in a pinch, then you can. Act, which I'm not a huge fan of its act, but it's put a card from this card's soul into the drop, and if you do, put a card from your opponent's gauge in his or her drop zone. So it's sort of a sacrifice soul to pop a gauge. It could be useful if you are playing against like Dungeon World and like they might have a Shelsana, and you want to get rid of the 1 gauge that they have, just to make sure they can't Shelsana. You could always do that. I mainly use this as just sort of like a secondary backup for getting non-essays on the field. This is also useful because I do run Hiding Oni in the deck, so it's useful to at least get some souls, and then I can just Hiding Oni to gauge and draw 2. Next, which may be a little bit odd, and I'm still kind of playtesting it, but I only run 2 of it, so it's not a huge cumbersome to the deck if it is bad. But I do run 2 of the Flash of Purple Art Hyojuro. He's a 5/2/4. And when he enters the field, if you have another Skull Warrior or Thunder Empire on your field, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. And if you do, put the number of cards from the top of your deck into your gauge equal to that card's size. And then it dies at the end of the turn. I run it as mainly sort of like an emergency gauge gain. You can always have Cannon on the left or right. Call him to the center, pop something, gain a little bit of gauge, and if you want to call a non-SA right over him, then you just pop him with Cannon, gauge in life, and then just he's just sort of gone. But he technically fits in the deck as size 2 because he reduces by Cannon's effect. But I mean, I haven't seen a reason to not have him, and I'm actually kind of struggling to get a complete set of cards that would justify using instead of him, just because water isn't super supported, so it's not completely easy to tell what to play. There tends to be, I guess, like a split between like a Demon Way Skull Warrior and a Ninja kind of build for water. And this is, I guess, more of a Skull Warrior build. So next is the King himself, Celestial Deity of Misty Dew Water, non-SA. He's a 6/2/2. Size 2. Call cost is put 2 water from your drop zone, so you have to put 2 water with him into this card's soul and pay 2 gauge, so that's why I use BB Kawazu to just throw 2 water in the drop. When this card is destroyed, destroy a monster on your opponent's field, put a card from your opponent's gauge into the drop, and then you gain 1 gauge. And he has double attack and soul guard. So, and this is not once per turn, so you can always, if you wanted to get rid of a pesky monster, you could use cannon, pop Nanase. Nanase will pop the monster, and then you essentially gain 2 gauge and a life. 1 gauge and 1 life from cannon, and then 1 from Nanase. So, he's obviously the bread and butter of water right now. He's super solid. Obviously run 4 of you could make him buddy, but again, I don't like that it's 2 gauge, so it's like, if you're low on gauge and you haven't buddy called yet, then I'm not a huge fan of that. So, and obviously with the water set spell, it becomes a scary 8/8 with soul guard. So obviously it's what water is built around right now. The next 2 cards, even though they're different, they kind of just sort of fill the void of having another good size 2 water in the deck. I guess we'll start with the original Masseria first. So 3rd Omni Waterlord Masseria. He's a 6/2/5, size 2. Obviously, you only run 1 of them because he's an Omni Lord, not from Katana World. His call cost is pay 2 gauge and put up to 2 spells from your drop zone into this card's soul. So a little bit more leniency as far as what needs to go into his soul, and it's up to 2 spells. So if you don't need to put any spells in it if you don't want to. He has double attack, soul guard, and lifelink 2. And lifelink 2 is usually not that big of a deal, especially if you're occasionally popping him with cannon. Then the life you gain from cannon just sort of goes into lifelink. But he's kind of like a Nanase. But he does get that nice 8k and 7k attack and defense. So there's really no reason not to run him. There's not enough support in water to sort of, in my opinion, not run these. But the next one is Inverse 3rd Omni Waterlord Dark Masseria, and he's a 6/2/5, slightly not as good as the other Masseria, but the life gain on this is nice, so I can't complain. Pay 2 gauge and put up to 1 spell from your drop zone into its card's soul, and when he's destroyed, you gain a life. So, and he has move and soul guard. So you can always use Hiding Oni to remove the soul as well. Again, obviously only 1 because he's an Omni Lord. On to the size 3s, which obviously there's only 1 set of size 3s for water right now, is Heavenly Vengeance Full Equipped Cannon. He's, size 3, 7/2/5, and you put the top card of your deck into this card's soul and pay 2 gauge. And let's see if I can get a little closer because the text is a little small because he has a lot going on with him. If he's on the left or right, the size of Skull Warrior and water on your center is reduced by 2. Counteract, destroy a Skull Warrior or water monster on your field other than this card. If you do, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and you gain 1 life, and you can only use this once per turn. And he has Penetrate and Soul Guard. So with the water set spell, he becomes a 9/2/7, which is pretty damn good stats, especially with Penetrate. So, with Chaos having a close center and everything, the Penetrate's nice. Obviously, you just run 4 of him because he's just really freaking good. I mean, why wouldn't you? Not enough of a justification not to. On to the spells. I run 4 Demon Way Fresh Blood Nectar. It's the water search spell. It's pay 1 gauge and put up to 1 water monster from your deck into your hand and shuffle your deck, and you can only cast this once per turn. So, obviously the searcher to grab cannon or Masseria, whatever you're missing. Obviously what you would want to do probably is charge a water card, draw, play this, use that 1 water card to get 2 water in the drop, and if you play Masseria, then those 2 go right into its soul. So, it's kind of probably why they have the 1 gauge cost on it to try to set up for Masseria, or not Masseria, but, I guess technically Masseria too, but set up for Nanase. Next is 3 Hiding Onis. It's an Assassination Charge draw card, and you put a soul from a card on your field into your drop zone, and then as the cast cost, and then you gauge 1 and draw 2. Super solid card. It's used in several Katana World decks right now. Just a really good card to gain some advantage and some gauge. I only run 3 because it's not water. I do run Aki Sugary as well for spells, and sometimes you just don't have souls to use for this. But it's since water doesn't have its own draw spell, it's a good secondary option. And then speaking of the devil, on to Demon Way Aki Sugary. Its cast cost is pay 1 gauge, and you put the top 2 cards of your deck into your drop and draw a card. And then if you have 10 or more cards in your drop, you draw another card. Obviously, this is, and you can only cast it once per turn. So obviously, this is better later in the game when you have more cards. But BB Kawazu does help you set up with this by putting 2 cards into drop. Obviously, the 1 gauge and the mill 2 count towards the check for 10 later on. So it's a pretty good card, and it helps you set up with getting spells and water in the drop for Nanase and the other like. So again, just another draw spell that isn't directly works with water, but water does need some draw, so no reason not to. Next, I run 4 of the Summer Recollection 2017 Zanya or Watermelon Splitting. I love the comic in this, because Zanya is struggling like hell to not get his face smashed in by Akatsuki. But anyways, it's a Snake Gaze reprint. So you can only have a total of this, and up to 4 of this and Snake Gaze in the deck at once. Obviously, because they're the exact same card. You pay 1 life and you rest a monster. This is mainly for bots and any multiple attacking monsters. The meta is just, very multi-attacking right now, so obviously Snake Gaze is a viable option right now. And the 1 life is very, very minimal, especially with Armored Cannon, gaining you occasional life. So that 1 life is very negligible. So, really good card. Next is 4 of Water Technique, Shinatsu Kwame. Its cast cost is pay 1 gauge, and it's a set spell, so it stays on the field. All water monsters on your field get +2/+2, and you can only set 1 of these on the field, obviously, because if they stack, it would start to become pretty obnoxious, though. I feel like water would probably be balanced, considering water's not that supported, but that's not for me to say. So, obviously, you just try to run 4 of this and try to find it. I mean, why not? Just helps with your defense and helps force your opponent to link attack. So, obviously, if you just draw more than 1, just charge 1. It's just, an easy charge then. So, next is 4 Art of Shadow Stitchings. You can only cast this during attack on your opponent's turn. You pay 1 gauge, and during your opponent's turn and an opponent's monster is attacking. You pay 1 gauge and you nullify the attack, then choose an attacking monster, and that card cannot stand for the rest of the turn. Obviously, this is more meant for bots, but I mean, it is nice for if a monster is double attack, or if monster, because you can still nullify if a monster and an item are link attacking, because a monster is at least attacking. But it helps, absorb any link attacks that you might not want, that might have like penetrate, or might have effects that go off of monster destruction. With like Yobi Gatana and Oni Assassins. So, good card. I don't really know what any kind of alternative shield you would run. I would say Art of Body Replacement, but obviously that doesn't work with link attacks. Not really sure what else you would run, to be honest. But, I mean, with the 1 gauge and life that you keep gaining from Cannon, it shouldn't be too hard to keep playing Shadow Stitches every turn. And then the last card is 4 Water Ploy Kyokyu Suinoen. You can only cast this card when a monster on your field is destroyed. Put a water monster or size 1 or less monster from your drop zone into your hand. Now, this is kind of funny that this is how water's kind of evolved, and I'm sure Bushy's planned this, but all the water obviously you can grab any water monster of any size, and then your buddy, for an example, even though he's not water, he is a size 1 or less, so you could grab your buddy with this. So, with the deck, you can literally grab any monster you need, other than, you can't grab Hyojuro, the Skull Warrior Thunder Empire card I have in here. But, I mean, honestly, he's only 2 of, and he's really not what you should be looking for with this card anyway. So, I mean, that really shouldn't stop anything. If anything, that might be a reason to get rid of Hyojuro. And honestly, if there was any card to get rid of in this deck, it would be Hyojuro. But again, I don't really necessarily know what would be a better replacement for him. Maybe if a new better card comes out, or heck, even if you have an option, you can leave in the comments. I'll take suggestions. I don't mind. So, yeah, that's pretty much the deck. And, yeah, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comments section. Have a great day.